Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Christina Mathewson here, and we're on Conversations with Carnivores. And today I have a really exciting guest that I'll let introduce herself. But welcome to the actual show.
Awesome.
Start by
Thanks,
giving us a little introduction.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm Riss Coleman, and I'm really excited to be here. We've been conversing to and forth, so it's nice to actually speak to you face to face and also talk carnivore. It's one of my favorite subjects.
Yeah, awesome. So one of my first questions I generally start people out with is like, what led you, like what was the thing that instigated your own personal carnivore journey?
Yeah, awesome question. Look, it probably for me hit that sort of 40s sort of age and thought to myself, I need to get healthy. This isn't looking good. Through a series of stressful events and things like that, you know, with life as we know it. I think I got to my most weight, my highest weight I've ever been, and some lovely person showed me a photo of myself, and I thought that's enough. I can't look at myself like that. So we both, my husband and I, we actually started with keto. We started doing that.
Yep.
We lost a lot of weight doing keto, which was awesome. That was the beginning of our journey. And then from there, I sort of hit a plateau where I just couldn't quite get the weight loss that I wanted. We were fairly healthy, like we're not sickly people. We didn't have any ailments. We didn't have anything going on. It was just that weight thing. And I think once you get to a certain age, and let's face it, I abused my body for 40 years. So it was sort of catching up on me. And so we lost a lot of weight on keto, but then got to a plateau where nothing budged. It just stopped. And that's a frustrating place to be, specifically when there's not much information out there as to what to do. So we did a lot of research, sort of YouTubed it, looked at, met various people, but just didn't quite get what we needed to get. So what I actually did is I contacted a low-carb clinic here on the Gold Coast, and she ran some blood tests and things like that, and they all came back great. Which is sort of, you want to hear that. But,
Of course.
Then it was like, well, what's my problem? And so she sort of said, well, why don't you head more in the protein direction, head more into, cutting out those veggies altogether, cutting out the sweeteners and things that, keto has. And for us, that was the answer, that cutting out everything keto and just sticking to just natural basics. That just triggered everything else from there. And I think, it wasn't even so much the weight loss, because I can't say that since then. So we did keto for about 2 years. We've been carnivore for about 3. My husband's lost a lot of weight. He does. Guys tend to do that. But for myself, my weight stayed the same, but my shape changed. And so I didn't care so much that, I was still sitting around the same kilos, because everything else was changing. I was fitting into smaller clothes. I felt more comfortable, and we just felt awesome. Like keto's, it's okay to a degree, but you're still having additives. You're still having things that don't agree with your body. It's not really eliminating all of the processed and, added extras that we don't really have to have. So that's where we've come to today. So we've been, I guess, on a 5-year journey to get to today. But once we started carnivore and really started to get the benefits of carnivore, that was it for us. That it was a no turning back. This is where we stay. So yeah,
I love that. I was going to say that, it's actually not an uncommon journey for people to start out in keto and then actually move into carnivore. It's got a kind of like a little bit more of a graduation sort of process rather than ripping the Band-Aid off. But the one of the things that I'm curious about is, did you have any major challenges in the social circles, or did anyone come and go, hey, I think what you're doing is killing you, or anything like that? Or have you got a really supportive group?
Oh, look, it's a real mixed bunch. I think initially, we heard about carnivore also from, I think my daughter-in-law said her uncle was doing something like this, and we were keto at the time. And I remember thinking, but where does he get his fiber? Like, how does he, like, seriously, that can't be healthy for him. I mean, I was one of those. And it wasn't until we were suggested by a professional to look into it that we thought, okay, put those thoughts down. Yeah, a lot of people will say, oh, that can't be healthy, or surely you eat some vegetables, or how do you function, and yeah, there is a lot of that sort of stuff, especially at restaurants. They sort of look sideways when you're a little fussy on what you order. But family wise, my husband straight away was on board, because he was like, hey, whatever is going to work for you, I'll do. So he was straight away on board with helping me with that. And then my daughter sort of got wind of it, and she was like, oh, this sounds pretty good, I might try that too. So we were all doing it. Of course, we still get friends and family that just say it can't be healthy for you. And the unfortunate part of that is my dad actually has dementia, and through COVID was popped into a home, and it was unnecessary. And the amount of times we sort of said, oh, just change his diet, let's look at these things. But there's a generation that just don't really want to research, don't really want to hear something new. They trust the information that they've been given. And so we to this day sort of sit back going, it's a shame, I wish they had have listened. Things could have been different. So there's a bit of all of that everywhere, but we're happy to always explain. We're actually the kind of people that like a kind of a shocker statement, so we often say something just to get someone to, huh, what are you talking about, so it's a real mixed bunch. But I have found that it's a growing acceptance of carnivore. What started out to be, you were the only ones that did this, and you were strange for it. And more people are getting on board, and I'm seeing more and more groups come up, and more support. And it's actually just amazing to see the amount of people that are really getting on board with this. And so I think it gets easier. It gets easier.
Well, I agree with you there. And one of the things, like you're saying, that more and more people are getting on board, for me, that's just the evidence of how good this is making people feel, and how much they're actually improving. And, whether it's health complications that they've got, or whether it's just that they want to lose weight, or whatever it is, it's actually taking them down this pathway. The fact that the groups are growing, the fact that there are more people, there are more channels that are talking about carnivore, that just tells me that there's so much more success here, that people are wanting to get involved, and they're wanting to connect, and they're wanting to have conversations with other people who kind of get it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think seeing so many people be healed from things that the pharmaceuticals can't heal them anymore. They've sort of pumped enough drugs out there, and people are still having symptoms and sicknesses, and seeing how carnivore can heal those things is just amazing. Who wouldn't want to do it? And I think since COVID, there's probably been a bigger distrust in the pharmaceutical realm of things, and so people are looking for alternatives. They are thinking outside of the box, and not wanting to get stuck into that rut of doing things just because that's what they're told to do. So I love the healing element. For a lot of people, that wasn't necessary for us, because we didn't have anything going on, but just the fact that we feel so much better. You feel 200% on carnivore all the time. You don't have those, ebbs and flows and dips when you have carbs. You have a good meal and then you crash out for the rest of the afternoon. Carnivores just go, 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 and that's what we love about. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I've had some interesting patients this week, even where they've gone down the pathway of doing what the doctors have told them, and then they start on one medication, and that one medication quickly turns into 5 medications because of side effects from that first medication, and then side effects from the follow-on medications that they're taking. And it becomes this tangled web that we just slowly have to untangle, and slowly get rid of these different medications until we can get back to the point where they've healed those things and don't need to be on anything anymore. But it's a journey that, I think I did a video earlier this week, which was about how my dad died, and he didn't need to. So he had prostate cancer, and he had diabetes for most of my adult life. He had diabetes, and prostate cancer generally isn't a cancer that kills most men. It's one of those cancers that, it's slow growing and so on, that generally, depending on the age of the patient and the advancement of all of that type of stuff. But overall, it's one of those things that you're probably going to die of old age before the cancer actually gets you. And so for my dad to die of that, part of my frustration was really that he didn't need to die. He didn't need to live for 30 odd years with diabetes. He didn't need to be injecting himself with insulin, and he didn't need to have all of these other things. Like, I remember my parents, my memory of my parents is they'd had this big container of tablets that they just carried everywhere that they went. They didn't need that baggage. They didn't need that. If only the medical profession had, excuse my French, pulled its head out of its butt and actually went, hey, what we're doing here is not actually fixing people. We're just managing people. Maybe we could look at some of the root causes instead, and maybe look outside of this box that we've been put in to find some of these solutions. But
well,
it just kind of makes me frustrated.
Yeah, I hear you. And it's a dangerous ground for medical profession to question what they've been taught. And it's good to see there's quite a lot of doctors now that are stepping forward and saying, hey, we've looked at this, and you would know them. There's a lot of carnivore influencers as well that really have stepped up and even put their medical certificates on the line, because they've spoken up and spoken out. And and I'm sorry to hear about your dad, and it's really unfortunate to hear, especially when you had the answers and it wasn't heard. And I think for me, that's the hardest thing, is that people who really need that answer but don't want to hear it, and then the consequences of that. And it's a shame. It really is a shame. But doing what we're doing today is a step forward into healing somebody else and helping somebody else, and hoping that particularly the older generation get a hold of, there's some more truths out there than just what you're being fed. Yeah,
absolutely. And the same with that situation with your granddad. Like, once people kind of move into institutional care, it becomes even harder to actually help them out of that scenario, because food is basically brought in on a truck and microwaved and then plonked in front of them. And, they've constantly got the information of like, no, you've got to take this or you're going to die, and all of that type of information coming at them. The chances of them changing become greatly reduced, unfortunately.
Yeah, once they step into care, definitely. And, I know the same with my husband's father. He was living with us for a while, also diabetic and a lot of other things going on, but just didn't want to hear, and we would feed him awesome meals, and then the family would go buy him KFC or, something else. And it was like, no, we're trying to help him. Don't you get this? And we ended up having to put him in care because we couldn't even have the fight anymore over what should you or shouldn't you eat, because it was a losing battle. He didn't want anything better. And it's a shame. So it's but we're here, we're preaching the good news of this carnivore diet and the elements of just awesome health that you can have from it. And not only just just to put it out there, it's not an instant awesome health. I think so many people, like I said, I've abused my body for 40 years, and just because you've changed this week to a different diet doesn't mean you're going to have the awesome results in a short amount of time. And I think I see a lot of that sort of stuff on the social media groups, is that the newbies sort of think, oh, this is going to be awesome, I'm going to lose weight quick, I'm going to get healthy, this is going to be great. And 3-4 months in, they're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? But you got to consider, if you've done that amount of damage, it's going to take time for your body to get back to that healing place and get back to that place where it's supposed to function, so you can't expect it overnight either.
I think about it like the plumbing. You build a new house, but you put in dodgy plumbing, and eventually that plumbing is going to break down. It's going to leak water throughout your house, and then when you finally figure out that there's a leak or there's some plumbing issues, you've got to pull up floorboards and you've got to pull up other stuff before you can actually just go and fix that and put a new bit of paint over the top of it. And that for me is what the carnivore diet is. It's actually about fixing the problem versus just putting on the shiny polish so that we pretend the problem isn't there, but it's still in the background.
Exactly.
So that takes time, like you said. And for some people, they'll get some instant results, especially if they're men, which is frustrating to all of us women. But we've got to remember as well that it's the long-term results that we actually want to have. And that sometimes means that we forfeit short-term results for the much greater prize, which is actually restoring and healing that inner workings versus just the quick fix of like the weight loss that some people jump into it for, which I totally get is frustrating because we've got this massive culture that's around weight loss and, you know, how much you weigh means how good of a person you are and all of that type of garbage that we have going on in our head. And I kind of love that if you're willing to go there with this diet, you'll actually heal even some of the garbage that's been circulating in your head around that weight means a certain thing. Like for you still weigh the same on the scales, but you've dramatically changed the configuration of your actual body. So you've probably gained a heap of muscle and lost a lot of fat.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. And I think if people could just be patient with that, there will be changes. And you're right, your mentality does change. You start thinking different things. You know, I'm not concerned anymore about the kilos, even on the, you know, the Australian scale of what we should be weighing, you know, for this height and this age. And, you know, I'm not even in the ballpark, but I'm fine. I'm comfortable. I'm healthy. I'm fit. You know, I still feel like I'm 30, even though I'm not. You know, but there's, you know, when you go to the gym, I do Pilates a couple of times a week. And when you go there, there's just all these people trying hard to lose weight and they're doing all these things. And I just want to scream, you know, like, hey, have you thought about this? But, you know, even there, we get pushed with, you know, doing body scans and things like this. And it's just in their head constantly, this, got to do this, got to do that, got to fix this, got to fix that. And they overcomplicate what actually is really, really simple. And that's what I love about Carnivore is it's just broken everything down to such a simple, you know, platform to work from. You don't have to overcomplicate anything and you'll still get results, you know. So, definitely change of mentality is a big step too, even for your own personal health, you know, that stopping to not stress so much over all the things that are thrown at you from society, you know, the figures that you've got to be or the, you know, whatever comes with that. Stress less, go carnivore and it'll be easy.
I love that. I will add in a little exclamation mark, which is if you've been doing carnivore for a while and you're not quite getting the results that you want to get, it might be time to plug in with somebody who knows what's actually happening. Because often I find in my own clinic, it's often just a couple of little quick changes that we need to do. And then suddenly everything's working the way that it is, because everybody's come from a slightly different background of how they've treated their body before then, what their genetics are like, et cetera, et cetera. And so we do need to make some of these little changes for some people, but they're often really little changes. They're often not like, now you have to go and buy 10,000 supplements and have all of these magic things and do a rainbow dance and in the rain and all of this other fun stuff. It's often really simple stuff that you just change in your kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. And just one little mindset of, you know, oh, I need to tweak that little thing and it will start to balance out. Definitely. Absolutely. I see, you know, even we do quite a basic, we're almost lion's diet during the week. So we're very much just your beef, water, salt, during the week, but weekends we're a bit of foodies. We like to change it up a little bit, so we might make a carnivore pizza or, you know, just have something that it's still always in the carnivore realm, but not something that we would have during the week. And but quite often I find it's the weekends when I do that, there's just something that upsets my stomach, something that's not quite right. And I'm a healthy person, but you just feel like, oh, I maybe shouldn't have had that part of what I had, and that might just change it all. And so the next weekend you eliminate that and don't go there, and it's fine. So it's usually just the smallest little thing, even can be even down. I mean, we don't do tea and coffee anymore, and that was a big one for me to give up coffee. But coffee was one of the ones that actually caused more muscular pain and back pain. And when
Oh,
I
wow.
gave it up, all of that sort of stuff disappeared. So that's an easy one for me. I don't touch coffee. You know, that's a harder one for some other people to do. They love their coffees.
Coffee is easy for me because I've never liked the taste of it. Same with wine. I've never enjoyed drinking wine. So those things are just like super easy for me to give up. Whereas for other people, I understand that they can be a challenge because they're part of a cultural experience as well. Like, you know, let's go out for coffee or let's go have a glass of wine. You know, they're cultural things. And, you know, what I want to say to people is ultimately give yourself time. Like, I'm sure for you, you didn't get to the point of giving up coffee on day one. That probably took you a few years into your actual journey when you went, I don't think this is actually working for me anymore. You know, at some point you went, okay, I'm ready to get rid of that because it's not serving me.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a journey.
It is a journey. And I had to come to that place of saying, well, what am I, I'm not that I was addicted to coffee, but, you know, if having a coffee first thing in the morning was the first thing you thought of before you said hello to your husband, you know, it was like, I need a coffee. You know, that's a problem. You're reliant on it. And I sort of thought to myself, well, I don't want to be reliant on anything. We travel a fair bit as well, and you can't always get what you want when you travel. So I thought I just want to be able to do these things free, not reliant on anything, so that whatever is on offer, I know what I can take and what I can't take, and I'm happy. It's not a problem. So with coffee, definitely, I sort of decided, okay, I'm going to cut down how many I have throughout the day, which wasn't much. I probably, you know, was having 3 or 4 coffees a day, and that's in winter, you know, to sort of warm yourself up. And then I thought, no, instead what I'll do is I'll swap that out with decaf. And in actual fact, for me, that was the mistake, to swap into decaf, not because I wasn't getting a caffeine hit, but there just seemed to be a different chemical structure to decaffeinated coffee. And that's when I really noticed that, you know, I was getting a bit stiff in the mornings to get up, and, you know, little things. You go to the gym and you know, usually your muscles get quite sore when you overwork it. But when I had coffee, it was accentuated, and it was something that was quite obvious that link was there. So once I sort of figured that out, and I thought, well, no, I want to be of optimum, you know, use everything that I can. I'm only young, so this shouldn't happen. I eliminate it. And that's when I, you know, ripped the Band-Aid off and went, that's enough, not doing that anymore. But having said that, occasionally I might have a really weak ice cold black. But I'm talking maybe one every, you know, 2, 3, 4 weeks. And that's all right, because it's not built up in my system. It doesn't seem to have the same effect as that.
And I think that's an important element of the journey as well. Like, you know, we've got the carnivore police out there that would say any coffee is bad, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, we want to live a life that we are also enjoying at the same time. And while I know for myself, like, there are certain things that I 100% have to stay away from because they're gateway drugs for me when it comes to particular foods. I know other people, it's not a problem for them. They don't have an addictive sort of personality with that particular thing. And it doesn't harm them. They have no side effects, that they can have those things from time to time and it not be an issue for them. And so that, again, is where we kind of want to personalize this to the things that actually work for us. And like you, being able to have that weak iced coffee every so often, you know, probably creates a little bit of social freedom there, but doesn't cause any harm to your body and just makes things feel nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm a big believer in still enjoying your life, still, you know, having these little things every now and then, so long as they don't become a habit that you know that alters your lifestyle. You know, but also just keeping it simple. Really keep carnivore simple, and I think that's where these carnivore police, like you put it, you know, they tend to say you can't do this and you can't do that and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do it. I actually even got deleted from a group once because I was putting I think pepper on something, and no, that's it, you're not carnivore, and they actually deleted me, and I was quite surprised, but I just thought, oh well, that it's fine, you know. But I like, there's a saying going on amongst all the carnivores, it's like, hey, you do you, You do you, whatever works for you, you do that. You know, you listen to your body. You eventually figure out what works, what doesn't. If you just pay attention to your body and forget the rules, it's easy. It's easy. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is if you start in, say, something like standard carnivore, which is like meat, dairy, eggs, salt and pepper, herbs and spices, if you start there, then you will naturally along your journey find the things in those categories that don't serve you. And you know, for some people it's cinnamon, they can't have cinnamon. For some people it's nutmeg. For some people it's pepper. For some people it's something else, and they just naturally start to remove those things from their diet. But if you start with this space where you've got some flavors and you've got some tastes, and you can make things that are fairly sort of normal-ish to an extent, you'll find where you fit best in that, versus you have to do it like this. And really, I have patients that are Lion's diet, and I can tell you, very few of them want to be Lion's diet for the rest of their life 100% of the time. Their goal is to be able to include some things, whether it be a little bit of seafood, whether it be a little bit of eggs and dairy and some of those things, to make life just a little bit more comfortable, or a cup of green tea or something like that, where they've created food freedom. But you know, they first have to start with the healing thing, because their body is often very, very chronically sick. But their goal is always to kind of bring at least a little bit of something else in, so that, you know, they can enjoy some different things from time to time.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's hilarious, the carnivore police kicking you out of a group for pepper.
Because
like I just think, okay, if I was wandering around in the Australian bush and I killed a kangaroo and there was a pepper plant there, I would want to cook my kangaroo with the pepper plant. I'm just saying, I would.
You'd want to mask that taste with anything. So
or some lemon myrtle or whatever else I found that was out there. I would want to add some of that to it. And of course, that's exactly what the Indigenous people did.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's some of the story when it comes to going carnivore and coming back to those things. But I'm curious, have any of your friends turned carnivore with you?
Some have tried it. And they still have that mentality of, oh yeah, but you can't do it all the time. You've got to have your carbs to go to the gym and things like that. So some of them are sort of, you know, dabbled around the edges. Some of them just don't get it. They don't really go there. It's probably more so family. So, you know, all our kids are grown up now. They're all older, married, moved on. So my daughter, the eldest daughter, she got on board when we did, and her husband now also does that. And then my eldest son, he does more of the Paul Saladino type, you know, a little bit of fruit with that. But he's also a long distance runner, so he's finding his balance works there. But in terms of friends, no, not yet. You know, we do get some odd looks when we go out, and often what we'll do is we'll order sort of like 400 grams of steak along with no sides, no sauces, you know, cooked a specific way, and then we'll order like a fish platter that's got no crumbs, no nothing else on it. And my husband and I will split that. We'll go shares on it, and they just look at us like, are you for real? Like, where's the salad at least? Where's the chips and the gravy? But they
like, really
strange.
I just think about that and I go, really? You're coming out to dinner, you're paying for food and you're paying for chips versus this beautiful steak and this beautiful seafood? I think you guys have got the problem.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, the funny thing is we're the only healthy ones. They're all sick. They've all got something else going on, and they're looking at us like we're strange, but we're loving life. So find your balance.
Yeah. And I love that your kids are going on the journey and they're finding their way as well. Like, and you know, I've talked about it a number of times on this channel that if I started my child raising years again, I'd probably have my kids hyper carnivore, where they were eating, you know, animal products with some fruit. Like that's generally how I would probably raise my kids if I'd had my time again to go and do that now, knowing the information that I know. And so I love that your son has found the things that actually work for him as well. And there's no shame or guilt in that, because it's like, oh gosh, really, let's remove that, please.
Yeah, you've got to find your balance. Just one moment, Christina. I've got a lawnmower at the back going here, so you can probably cut this little bit out, but I'm just going to close the window so that you can't hear the lawnmower.
It's all good. We can't hear it anyway. But while she's doing that, you can see in the background she's got some beautiful products there.
Yes.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about this? Because this is kind of how you and I met, was through your product line that you created. So I'm curious, one, tell us what your product line is, and then two, what inspired it and took you on that journey to create it?
Yeah, awesome. This is something we're really, really passionate about. We have created a skincare range that is carnivore friendly. It's mostly tallow-based, so it's good, healthy fats. And we've done this because, sort of getting into the carnivore culture, we realized that, hey, it's not just what you eat that affects your body. It's also what you put on your skin, what you wash your hair with. I mean, the list goes on. Like there's all sorts of toxins and negativities in a lot of different things. I mean, we could be here for months talking about all of those, but particularly your skin. Your skin is the biggest organ of your body, and it absorbs everything you put in it, or on it rather. So, within 20, it only takes like 20 minutes for whatever you put on to soak into your skin and get into your system. And that kind of bugged us. And we sort of thinking, well, we're doing all this really great work internally. What about externally? And then we go put poisons on us, on our skin, sunscreens and moisturizers and all sorts of, soaps and things like that. So we sort of went on a hunt to see what we could find, not thinking that we were going to start a line ourselves. We were sort of thinking, who's got something out there that agrees with our philosophy, with how we want to eat and treat our bodies. And we couldn't find anything that was 100% carnivore friendly. And that kind of got us to thinking, well, we're going to have to make our own. So I looked into a little bit of it, sort of and experimented. And then the more we got into it, the more we were like, this stuff is great. Like, we love this stuff. And family and friends were starting to use it, even the non-carnivore ones. And everyone was telling us, hey, you should market this. This is actually really good. Don't just do it for yourselves and for home, but put it out there. And so we did. So we took a little risk, and we started investing in it and creating more products and things that we love. I don't really believe in creating products that we're not going to use ourselves. So we do a lot of trial with a lot of different things, but everything is tallow-based, and tallow is just such an awesome ingredient to use. There's so many healing benefits of tallow. It's beautiful. You can use it just as it is, or you can mix it with something, do things with it to get what it is that you want to get. So we do have this is our main one. I don't know if you can see that here. This is our Carnivore Cream. We specifically called it Carnivore Cream because it is 100% carnivore. There's no plant matter, there's no toxins, there's no seed oils, there's nothing in this that a carnivore wouldn't eat. So in fact, you can eat this if you really want to. It's just basically beef tallow, so grass-fed beef tallow and emu oil. And it's really, really simple. And back to what I was saying before about we eat simple, so therefore what we put into our products, I believe, should also be simple. You shouldn't have a million ingredients into something that you put on your skin. Keep it simple, and that's the best way we find. So this one's our favorite one. This one's one of our best sellers, and we've only been on the market for, I don't know, maybe just on 6 months, and it's taken off. It's just been so encouraging to see how many people have just jumped on board and given it a go. And that's what I love about Australia, is that people will always give the underdog a go. And they've certainly done that for us. And so we're really excited. We've got now a business manager that's come on board, and he's helping us with things like social media, because that's not what we do. That's always very tricky. But, you know, we're having new products come out all the time. And that's just one of our
Can
favorites.
I say something about it before we move on to the next one? Because
yeah,
there's stuff I can say that you technically can't say as the creator of it. But certainly if you're watching this at home and you do have friends or family with arthritis, this is going to be a really great one for those people, because Emu Oil and the tallow both together are going to be really beneficial at actually starting to clean out the joints and remove some of that inflammation that actually is harboring in the joints as well. Especially Emu Oil is one of the ones that I would prescribe a patient who's got arthritis to actually help them with their joint mobility and recovering their actual joints as well. So if you've got someone you love with arthritis,
you should be our marketing manager.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And even skin conditions like eczema and psoriasis and many other things, acne, all sorts of things. You know, I purely believe it does start from the inside out. So, you know, you can use our products if you're not carnivore, and it will help you. But if you go carnivore and use our products, you're going to get the best result that you can get. Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing about the tallow, like when you're talking about eczema and psoriasis, those are all detoxification conditions. They're conditions where you've got too many toxins within inside of your body, and your skin has had to come and help take care of some of that load. Now, if you use something like coconut oil or even olive oil, you can actually amplify those skin conditions because they're very detoxifying, and they actually draw more toxins out of that pathway, creating a bigger wound that's actually there. Whereas tallow does kind of the opposite. Not that it's stopping the toxins from coming out, but it's actually facilitating them to come out in other pathways of your actual body. As well as keeping that skin nice and moist and preventing bacterial infections and so on from actually taking place. So certainly great for those skin conditions too.
Yeah, you should work for us. This is good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I told you I don't do the details. I'm not the details girl. I know what works, and my husband's the researcher. He actually studied a little bit of naturopathy for a while, so he's sort of on that level, and so I trust him when he says, "No, this is going to work. Let's put these things together." So
I love that that's Australian too. Like Emu Oil is such an Australian thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we love it. And it's a liquid that you just, you know, to take a smell of it on its own is a little on the odd. You know, just to use it on its own is a little strange. But once you pop it in, you know, shampoos or mixed with tallow with the creams and things like that, it's actually perfectly fine. And that's one of the questions we get asked a lot of, is about the smell of the product, because everyone thinks tallow, cows smell. And it doesn't smell. It just does not smell. It's sure, it doesn't have a fragrance, because we don't put fragrance in our products unless it's actually asked for. If somebody says, yes, can you please put a fragrance in it, then we'll do that. But on a whole, we don't sell them with fragrances. But it doesn't smell. And that's the beautiful thing I like about it, is so many people think, oh, you're just wiping cow on your face. But no, you're not. It's actually really beautiful, and it's very addictive. It's the smoothest, most beautiful cream that you can use on your skin. And I say face because the Carnivore Cream that we've made, it can be used for your whole body. That's perfectly fine. But I guess with Emu Oil in it gets a bit expensive to do a whole body kind of routine with. So I personally just use it on my face, décolletage, you know, neck, that sort of area, even my ears. Like put a little bit on my ears. But that's where I will keep my Carnivore Cream. The rest of my body, we have a really beautiful body wash that we've just come out with that is, again, really, really simple the way that we've made it. But when we use that in the shower, that's the last thing that we do when we're having a shower. You get out fully moisturized. You don't have to add anything. And so that's why we sort of say, just use the Carnivore Cream for your face, use the scrub for your body, and you don't have to moisturize past that. It's really quite simple. Yeah,
I love it. Now, did I see that you guys have got a sunscreen that's come out?
Yes, we have this one, similar tin. It's called Sunny Days. It's a tallow-based zinc cream. So we can't call it sunscreen because that's not approved, but we can call it a tallow-based zinc. So everybody knows what that is. and it purely is just well, it's a couple of mixtures actually. This one is well used because we use it on the weekend. It's nice and thick, and so you get a good coverage, but if you only use a tiny amount, it does blend into your skin. So a lot of people sort of think, oh, it's zinc, it's going to make you all white, you're going to look like a ghost. Yeah, if you use too much, you will. But really just use a tiny amount. And we have found that it lasts all day. Now, that's us, and we like to go out boating, and we spend a lot of time on the water and things like that. So for us, it was a really, really good thing for us to test, because we thought if it works for us, it will work for others, because we're outdoors a lot. And so there's really basic ingredients with this as well. So we have our grass-fed beef tallow is the main ingredient, our zinc, and we also use what was it called? Lanolin from sheep. And so again, apart from, zinc might not be classed as an animal product, but it is still natural and it's still healthy for you. And so it's basically a carnivore sun cream. We call it a summer skin support system, because it certainly supports you while you're out there having fun, doing whatever you do. So, and you don't need to moisturize with this. This has got enough tallow in there to be of great moisture throughout the day. So we find it's really, really awesome.
I'm going to say as well, for like little people, that would be phenomenal, because the sunscreens and the protections that are out there at the moment, they're so toxic, it's not funny. And look, we've avoided using those types of things for majority of our life as parents. But just to have something that, you could put on your kids and go to the beach and not have to stress too much about would be great, especially when it's from a health-based perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Still slip, slop, slap, but use a good toxic-free sunscreen.
Yeah,
hats and shirts, but definitely for the little ones, it's toxic-free. It's going to be great for them. It doesn't matter.
Look, I want to see a parent that's ever been able to keep a hat on a little person for the whole entire time. Like, that person needs a gold star.
Yeah,
so having something, just a little bit of extra protection, is a great idea.
Yeah, it's not going to sting their eyes either, and it doesn't matter if they try to eat it, it's fine. They'll be perfectly good.
I love it. See, that's the thing that I love. Like, when I was trying some of the products myself, one of the things that I loved was everything in there is something I could eat. So like, if one of my kids got into it and they started to eat it, I wouldn't need to stress about rushing them to a hospital or calling poison control, because I know there's nothing actually toxic in there, because they could literally eat everything in there and they would be healthy by eating those things.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. No, that's good.
So what else have you got? I know that you've got a lip balm.
We do.
And the body wash.
We do. So this is our body wash. This is the latest one. Really, really easy, simple. It's whipped tallow and Himalayan rock salt. Rock salt is also very good for your skin. So it's a blend of that. Now, this one, we do recommend putting some peppermint essential oils in, for the very reason that when the rock salt hits the tallow, it does bring out a bit of a scent. So it's something to do with the mixture of the salt and the tallow. You do get a little bit of a smell. If you're a luxury person, don't like smell, we say put a little bit of essential oil, peppermint oil with it, and it makes it really, really invigorating. So this is what we use in the shower. So we'll have our shower, we'll finish with this, and we don't have to moisturize. We don't have to do anything else. I use it on my face. Sometimes I even lick it off my lips because it's nice and salty, and it's not bad at all. It's 100% natural, and that's one of our newest products as well. And like you said, with our lip balm, which is also emu oil and beeswax and beef tallow. So that's also 100% natural. You can also eat that if you really want to. But one thing I like about my lip balm is quite often, you're driving and you're like, oh, my hands are a little bit dry. I usually have a lip balm and I will just pop it on my hands, give it a little bit of a rub, and we're fine, you know. And so you can do anything with it, or if you have a little bit of a spot somewhere, you can, you know, sunspot or whatever that you want to, you can just pop some lip balm on it, and it's just as healing and just as great as our Carnivore Cream.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So next question is, if people want to come and buy these things, how do they find you?
We are online, so obviously Instagram, Facebook, we're all there, but to purchase we are purely through our website at the moment. So it's www.mooorganics.com.au. That's where you can find everything, research everything. You can read what we're about, what we do and don't use, you know, why we don't use certain things. And so you can also place your orders there. We are sort of starting to get into a few other realms, which we haven't quite solidified yet, of other sales, but we are online. For people who are local, they can choose to collect as well. We do have a few local people that have done that already. So you can do that if you're in the Gold Coast region of Queensland. And we have a beautiful studio that we run from home, and we can help people there as well.
So I'm sure that if anybody is listening to this and they've got a health food shop or want to do wholesale orders, you can probably reach out and start a conversation with Rizzo as well to actually create that conversation starting to happen. I'm sure you'd welcome those types of things too. So keep that in mind. Now I'm curious, is anything going to convince you to not be carnivore?
Oh, not a thing in the world. Absolutely not. No, once you go there, you can't turn back. And mind you, you try. Everybody tries. They have their cheap meals or their cheap days, or, you know, Christmas and New Year and all the rest. And, you know, but you just feel awful afterwards. So you sort of get to the point, you're like, well, why did I even try? I should have just stayed carnivore. And so, no, nothing could talk me out of it. No doctor, no expert, nothing could talk me out of it at all.
I think it's funny. I think we kind of all probably need that tiptoeing off of carnivore for a little bit, just to get that reminder of like, oh, that's right, this is how I used to feel all the time. Yeah, I don't really like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
we recently just did that. We were away the most of December. And, you know, it was party time the most of the time. We were with a lot of people. So there was a lot of things that crept in. And by the time we got back, we just wanted to detox. That's all we wanted to do, was just get that stuff out of us and start again. And yeah, it's definitely won't go anywhere else.
I love it. So now if somebody's watching this for the first time, hearing about carnivore, and they're like, this kind of sounds like something I'd want to try, what tips would you give people who are starting out?
Do your research, know exactly what you're doing first. I would transition. Some people tend to rip the Band-Aid off and just go for it. Keto flu can hit you really hard. And I know that when we did that, it knocked us out for about 3 weeks. But I would go slow. I would just start pulling one thing at a time out of your diet until you get to the place where you're just doing, you know, beef, B and E, you know, get to that place. Do that for a good month before you start thinking about adding things back in. But yeah, definitely I would do your research, because there's so much controversy and different information about all of this. But do your research, listen to the right kind of influencers first. And then, consider how you're going to do that. And obviously there's people that are on medications as well when they come to this. So please don't just throw medications out the window. Be very wise about taking the right steps to take those things down and graduate them out of your system until you're at a point where you can function without them.
Yeah, and like you said, there's you know, we're getting more and more carnivore doctors. I'm a carnivore nutritionist and naturopath. There are people like myself and others around in the low carb spaces that can help you do some of those things and help you find your way, especially if you've got a complicated health history and situation. You know, if you've got no medications and you're starting from the kind of the place where you started, where you were generally healthy, but you just weren't quite happy with how things were going, and, you know, you can make those changes, then, it's not going to be much of a drama for you. But certainly if there's some medication and illness in the background, seek out some help if you think you need it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Good. All right. Thank you so much for today. This has been absolutely fun to get to know you a little bit more and your products. And I just love that you make stuff that we could eat if we wanted to. Like, look, I have 7 children. Okay. So it is a real fear of kids getting into something and poisoning themselves, and having a household full of stuff that you don't even need to worry that if they've gone off and they're quietly in the bathroom and they're eating your soap, it's totally fine. They're not going to die from it.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's awesome.
It's been great chatting with you, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Beautiful.
Bye for now.
Thanks, Christina. Cheers. Bye.
See you. Thanks.